Cop arrests black soldier on a busy street for stealing a car. What happened next will shock you. In this jaw-dropping video, a black soldier finds himself arrested on a busy street after being wrongfully accused of stealing his own car. What happened next will leave you speechless. Racial profiling and injustice take center stage as this powerful story unfolds. Watch as we explore the shocking reality of racial bias, police misconduct, and the painful questions that remain unanswered. Watch till the end and share your views. Let's see what you think. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more jaw-dropping videos like this. What would you do if you were a hero in uniform, only to find yourself in handcuffs on a bustling street, accused of a crime you didn't commit? Imagine being a soldier, someone who fights for freedom, and suddenly, in the blink of an eye, you become a suspect simply because of the color of your skin. How does it feel when justice fails you? It was a hot afternoon, the kind where tensions run high in the thick, humid air. Cars zipped by in both directions, pedestrians hurried down the sidewalks, and there he was, a black soldier, home on leave, enjoying a brief taste of normal life before he returned to duty. But within moments, everything would change. Why did a day filled with promise descend into chaos? How did this man, sworn to serve and protect, find himself surrounded by flashing lights, accused of being nothing more than a thief? Why did the officer lock eyes with him from across the street? Was it instinct? Was it prejudice? Or was it something else? The police cruiser slowed, its lights flashing a sharp warning, pulling over beside the soldier's parked car. The soldier, let's call him David, was unaware, casually checking his phone as he prepared to meet his wife for lunch. But the officer had already decided. The car, a sleek black sedan, was reported stolen. Without a word, backup was called. What was going through David's mind when he looked up and saw not one, but two squad cars rolling up behind him? What would you think if you saw officers emerging from their vehicles, hands already inching toward their holsters, eyes filled with suspicion? David's heart skipped a beat. He knew he'd done nothing wrong, but his stomach tightened with the familiarity of this situation. How many times had he seen this unfold on the news? Black men pulled over, mistaken for criminals, their dignity snatched in the blink of an eye. Was this really happening to him now? Was he about to become another statistic? The officer's voice rang out, sharp and commanding. "Step away from the car, hands where I can see them." Why was the officer so certain? Why didn't he ask questions first? David raised his hands, slowly stepping away, his uniform unmistakable, a sign of honor. But would that be enough? Did the officer even care? How could this have escalated so quickly? In the space of a few seconds, David found himself face down on the scorching pavement, knees pressed into his back. How could a soldier, someone who had been trained to protect, find himself feeling so helpless? The crowd around them grew, murmurs spreading like wildfire. What's going on? Isn't that guy a soldier? Why are they treating him like that? But amidst the murmurs, there was a darker undercurrent. Some whispered, he must have done something. They wouldn't arrest him for no reason. Why is it so easy to assume guilt before knowing the full story? David's mind raced as the handcuffs clinked shut around his wrists. How could this be happening? This car, his own car, had been a gift from his mother. He had all the documents to prove it, insurance, registration, everything. But would they even listen? His eyes darted toward his military ID, tucked inside his pocket. Should he speak up and try to explain? Or would they see his words as resistance? Would they escalate the situation further? What would you do in this moment? Fight back for your dignity, or stay silent to avoid the risk of further violence? Is there ever a right answer? As David was led to the police car, the tension in the air was palpable. "I didn't steal this car," David finally said, his voice strained but calm. The officer shot back, "You can explain that at the station." Why was there no hesitation, no attempt to verify his story on the spot? The onlookers began recording on their phones, but would that even matter? How many viral videos had there been before, and how often did real justice follow? What happens when the truth comes too late, when a man's reputation is tarnished before he even has a chance to defend himself? Inside the police station, the questions kept coming. Where did you get the car? Do you have proof of ownership? David tried to stay calm, but frustration boiled beneath the surface. He had been trained to endure high-stress situations, but this was different. This was personal. Hours passed and still, they didn't believe him. Was it because of the stolen car report, or was it something else? Was it his skin color that made them doubt him? What happens when the system designed to protect you becomes the very one that threatens you? Finally, the moment of truth came when the officer who had arrested David returned to the interrogation room. "There's been a mistake," he said, his voice quieter now. "The car wasn't stolen. In fact, it wasn't even the same model that had been reported missing." David's heart pounded in his chest, relief mixed with fury. Could this really be chalked up as just a mistake? The officer fumbled through an apology, but the damage was done. Could an apology ever make up for the humiliation, the fear, the helplessness David had felt? Could it erase the fact that for those few hours, David was just another black man in handcuffs, guilty until proven innocent? David was released, but the weight of the incident hung heavy in the air. As he walked out of the station, free but far from unscathed, the questions continued to race through his mind. Would this happen again? Was his uniform ever enough to shield him from the assumptions people made? Would people believe his side of the story, or would they simply see him as another case of mistaken identity? What would you do after experiencing something like this? Would you speak out, or would the fear of retaliation keep you quiet? How do you move on from an experience that shakes your faith in the very system you've sworn to defend? As David drove home in the very car that had caused so much trouble, one thought echoed louder than the others. How many other people had gone through this? How many didn't have the privilege of a military ID or a public outcry to back them up? How many were still sitting in cells, waiting for the truth to set them free? David's story was one of many, a reflection of a much larger issue. Could things ever really change? What would it take to ensure that no one, soldier or civilian, ever has to go through what David went through? Is it possible to dismantle a system built on decades of racial bias? Or are we doomed to repeat these stories again and again? As you watch this story unfold, ask yourself, what would you do if this happened to you, to someone you loved? How can we, as a society, prevent more Davids from falling victim to the assumptions and biases that continue to haunt our justice system? This story isn't just about one black soldier who was wrongfully arrested. It's about the countless others who have faced similar injustices, some of whom never make it home. Will you stay silent, or will you speak up? How can you make sure that this story ends differently the next time? The tension in David's story may have ended, but the questions remain. What will you do with them?
If you've watched this far, comment which country you're watching from and leave a 100 in the comment section, because you are type of person that likes to finish what they started. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to get notified whenever we drop new videos.